Hi, guys. So this week, Ryan and I were working with somebody, and we actually sat down to figure out how much it would cost them to continue their chiropractic and massage regimen for the rest of their life. And we discovered that it was well over $100,000. This is outrageous. So today, we're coming on live to teach you guys about how to end and get out of the sick care model of body work, chiropractic, massage therapy, physical therapy, etc., and to just be well and to really know how to keep yourselves well. So I'm Mikal. I'm a master nutritionist, a functional medicine practitioner, and a trauma recovery coach. I'm your co-host here with Ryan at the Pain Free Blueprint and Integrity Wellness Worldwide. And what we do is we find and address the root causes of pain, misalignment, and chronic structural problems so that you guys have a permanent solution instead of continuing and requiring these Band-Aid approaches the rest of your life. And as we'll uncover today, these Band-Aid approaches actually keep you sick. So I'm here with our functional alignment and movement expert, Ryan. He's got over 11 years of experience and research inside of implementing this work. So let's dive in. For me personally, and as I was preparing to talk today, I looked back and I realized that I have been a huge supporter of the structural health, structural alignment, body workers, that whole industry. And when I started out in practice, I was actually referring every single client to a body worker of some sort. Myofascial release guy, all these different modalities. You need trigger point therapy. Oh, cupping would work really well for you. Oh, you need deep tissue corrective massage. I was the one that was recommending them to all of my clients because I knew that function depends on structure. Okay. So I was like one of the biggest supporters of this industry because I thought that it was required as a regular part of life and required as a regular part of care, getting people better from chronic mystery illness and even healing from trauma. So I thought it was essential to recover. But the more that I researched, the more that I saw the impact of you having to go back again and again and again and again to these same body workers or different body workers, it became very clear to me that this was not a functional model of healthcare, that it was actually sick care. Any care that requires you for the rest of your life to go back to be hooked on something because you continue to have problems or the solutions only last short term, that's sick care. Not only that, but the standard fitness industry, getting your personal trainer, going to the gym, all of these conventional activities actually screw people up more than they heal people. And so I really started asking myself many years ago, how do we create a functional model of physical body alignment and movement? Where is the functional model of dealing with the root cause, providing that lasting solution? Where is the functional model in this industry? And this is where we and Integrity Wellness Worldwide actually researched, and we found Ryan Walker, and we connected because Ryan had been pioneering this field for at least the past decade. So Ryan, I would love for you to share with us today, the three biggest reasons why the conventional bodywork industry, and this includes functional, this includes alternatives. Everybody loves going to chiropractors and massage therapists and, neurologists and all of these people that deal with the body, acupuncturists, they go do all that stuff. And they think that it's not conventional because they're holistic or more open-minded, or, it's not like standard medicine or even physical therapy or osteotherapy. So why is even that model of body work and fitness, why is it failing people? Why is it wasting their money? And why is the patient retention model that they use such a crapshoot?
Yeah, great question. It really is the capitalist model, right? And I don't, want to talk too poorly about capitalism because obviously it has its abundance and, it gives us the lifestyles that we want and the abundant lives that we want. But ultimately, when it comes to healthcare, we have this kind of addiction to healthcare. I'm very grateful for the modern healthcare system because I think it's great for acute issues. Chronic issues, however, I think that's really within our own power. I know it's within our own power to mitigate those chronic illnesses and issues. And you look at some of the healthiest cultures across the world are the centenarian cultures. If you ever read the book, The Blue Zone Diet, talking about all these centenarian groups, people that live to be 100 or older. And you look, they live very mitigative lifestyles, right? Herbal teas every day, lots of social interaction, functional movement. They're out moving and gardening and out in the sun. And the reality is we just haven't implemented that in the US medicine model. And it's unfortunate because I've had experiences working as specifically a physical therapy aide right out of massage therapy school. And an aide, if you've ever been to physical therapy, essentially what you do is a new patient comes in and you immediately greet them. You take them into the room. There's no questions asked. It's the same protocol over and over again for every single person. Not to mention you're working with 4 or 5 people in an hour, and you have two physical therapists on staff to work with those people. So I take them in there, I put heat and electrical stimulation on the muscle or wherever the injured area is, regardless of whether it even needs that to begin with. I went in there, for example, with a spinal issue, or it wasn't a spinal, it was a lower back strain. It was really, really painful. And they still put me on the heat and stim, even though that created more of a spastic kind of feeling in the lower back, which I was already having spasms. So I couldn't understand why we were doing this. Then you do a little bit of massage. The PT comes in, spends 15 minutes, maybe 20 if you're lucky, with that individual. You then take that person, run them through generic corrective exercises, put them on ice for 10 minutes and send them out the door. Right. And it's an extremely expensive process, yet you're getting 20 minutes with a professional, right? And you're going back and back. And almost everybody I worked with had been there for their 4th, 5th, 6th visit. I mean, you couldn't believe how many times people were getting injured. And you'd watch as it would travel up the kinetic chain. Oh yeah, I came in here first with an ankle injury, then a knee, then a hip, then a lower back, then a neck or a shoulder. And you just watch this cascade of issues happening, and you realize that the root cause, as you mentioned, isn't being addressed at all. So that's kind of the problem, I believe, why we're kind of trapped in this system of this keeping people coming in. I've also spoke with experts. You know, I have friends who are chiropractors, right? I had good friend of mine. He was actually my employer at the time, a chiropractor. And I remember one day we had a discussion. I told him, look, you should bring me on board. Let me be the corrective exercise specialist. You do the adjustment work. We get the skeletal system in alignment. We get the nervous system functioning well. And then I give them the exercises to retrain with the input, the sensory input and informational feedback to the nervous system to this is your new blueprint. This is how you move now. And he was so opposed to it. He had this ideology of, look, all you have to do is adjust the spine and then the body and the nervous system will take care of the rest. Well, it's like, well, then why are these people coming back multiple times a week? It doesn't make any sense. And I believe that he knew deep down why that was. Let's keep in mind that he was making $500,000 a year, right? Just adjusting people multiple times a week. So it's unfortunate. There are practitioners out there that know that they're not addressing the root cause. And I've met many of them that are frustrated with it. They understand that it's not a sustainable care model. It's not getting to the root cause, and they're frustrated with it. Yet they've spent 6 to 12 years or more in school to get where they're at. I mean, are they just going to abandon that? Right. So it's
in debt.
And in debt. You know, one of my friends who's a chiropractor, he's $500,000 in debt right now. You know, like he's not going to try to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, so he can, you know, do the right thing. Right. So that kind of, you know, addressing the reason why people are coming back and they're not seeing any changes, because we need to keep that recurring income coming in. And I'm not trying to make it sound like all of the medical system is nefarious and that they have this kind of conspiracy to keep you coming in. It's just unfortunately the model that exists. And that's why we're bringing you this blueprint, is to give you the tools. And this is another reason why I do this, to give you the knowledge and the understanding, because when you understand these basic concepts, right? Like I'm not trying to get too in the weeds with the physiology and the anatomy, but just give you enough to understand that you have an inherent intelligence in your body. Right now we're sitting here, our hearts are beating and pumping blood to all our tissues and to our brain, and we're breathing oxygen in and it's nourishing our cells, and our food's being digested and nourishing the body. we're not doing any of that consciously or voluntarily. It's all involuntary intelligence from the body that you've been gifted with. So do you really think that you've been gifted with this design that gives you oxygen and nourishes your body, but wouldn't give you the tools or already give you the structure needed for pain-free movement for life? Like, of course not. We've already been given that blueprint. It's already there. We're here to rediscover that. And the reason we've gotten there is because we've adapted to a dysfunctional mode of life, right? So it's no secret that we still have a lot of the genomic blueprint for human evolutionary biology, right? Like they talk about the Human Genome Project, and you can do a 23andMe and see, oh, like 10,000 years ago I came from here. It's crazy what we're able to do. But you can see that, we still have that deep ancient ancestral biology in us. Yet we've advanced so quickly because of our brain development and our intellect as a human species. We've developed so quickly that we've basically outmoded what our body is suited for, right? Like sitting here right now talking to you for 45 minutes to an hour, like that was never intended, right? Nobody sat at 90 degrees in the hip for, compressing my lumbar spine and slouching and head forward positioning. I mean, it was very normal to get up and move and forage for a little bit and sit by the fire and, you know what I mean, play the drum for a bit and dance, whatever. And we still have that blueprint. We still have that. So that's, another goal is to help you understand that it's there, it's still there. And the inherent intelligence in your body, it's still serving you even in a dysfunctional environment. Even right now, like when I get this kind of forward posture, I'm basically giving feedback to the body. Hey, this is my environment. Therefore, my body starts to adapt to that environment and create calcifications around the spinal columns. And, it's like, oh, okay, this is your new postural position. Let's go ahead and adapt to it. So it's not that your body's working against you. It's that we're giving it the wrong feedback. Therefore, the inherent intelligence is now adapting you to that new kind of postural position, that chronic pattern that you're in. So we're going to give you all of the tools and information you need to understand what human functional movement looks like. And it's really difficult to use that term for me because it's so overused and it's very miscommunicated. Like functional movement, in my opinion, is moving or training the body to move and optimize movement in the way that our bodies were designed to move, right? Like, you go to say like a CrossFit gym and all of the movements are performed in what is called the sagittal plane. So we have three primary planes. We have the coronal plane, which is like rotation. We have the frontal plane, which is, imagine doing a jumping jack, like you're between two panes of glass. That's your frontal plane or lateral movement. And then you've got sagittal movement. And you look at all these fitness programs and there's almost no rotation. There's almost no frontal plane movement. It's all pressing, pushing, pulling, squatting, carrying. Like, of course, those are all fundamental patterns and you're probably better off doing that stuff than not doing anything at all. But the reality is we're leaving 95% of movement on the table. And we're also training the body primarily for hypertrophy, muscle growth, right? Because the majority of people want lean muscle mass and they want to be, low in body fat, which is great. You can still achieve that doing a functional fitness approach. But I always say you have to have a functional body prior to engaging in functional fitness. If you want functional fitness, have a functional body first. The problem is people are skipping an entire step, going in with dysfunctional malformations, postural malformations, going into gyms and trying to perform functional movement. And they're pushing their bodies to extreme limits that their bodies have moved away from, right? It's like, if you want a perfect image of what like really good movement looks like, is look at a child that's developing throughout movement and they're running and and they breathe into their bellies. They've got like these big bellies, because they're breathing into their belly and not into their chest, because they haven't adapted yet to having this collapsed posture and the diaphragms collapse. Now they're not getting sufficient oxygen into the diaphragm. When they run, they lean forward and mid-foot strike. They're crawling and they're moving through the sequence of patterns that it takes to develop human functional movement. So, Yeah, that's essentially kind of, I'm just pouring it all out there because obviously I'm very passionate about this, because the fitness industry has just been misleading people. And one, I don't think intentionally. I think people genuinely consider themselves experts and create these blueprints and these models and then, in these curriculum. And then, they're completely neglecting the fact that people, even regardless of all the exercise they're doing, all the movement they're doing, are still suffering from chronic injuries. Like, that's not a normal state of being. We're not supposed to be in pain all the time. That's not normal. We should actually have very pliable tissues. We should have a very elastic body. Like, we should be like parkour athletes, like all of us. Like, we're genuinely designed to be able to do that kind of stuff. If you look at like indigenous tribes in Africa, like, pull it up on YouTube, and they do their like dances, and these guys are like jumping like 10 feet off the ground. Like, it's crazy. And they're not in the gym doing NFL combine workouts. Like, they're just using their inherent biological design, and it's optimized because they haven't, again, adapted to this dysfunctional first world modern, dysfunctional workplace environment, right, that we've adapted to. So yeah, that's my goal, to show people, hey, don't stop exercising, don't stop doing your P90X or whatever it is, but understand at the very least that it's not contributing to a functional body and a pain-free life. So, for example, I've been dealing with a lot of joint issues because I grew up doing a lot of that stuff. I was obsessed with like bodybuilding and gymnastics and tumbling when I was younger. And I was just tumbling and flipping and lifting weights in the gym all the time. And, really did a lot of damage to my joints and to my body. But recently, as McCall and I have been developing the curriculum for this program, I thought, you know what, I'm going to adopt this. I'm going to apply it. And I have in the past, but not for a long enough period as I would have liked. And I'm telling you, within 2 weeks' time, just taking my own advice, the same advice that I'll be giving all of you, the chronic hip pain, the knee pain, within 2 weeks' time, gone. Just gone. And just imagine that you don't address that. I'm sure all of you watching right now have an issue, right? It's a lower back problem, it's a hip, ankle, whatever it might be. Now imagine not addressing that for the next 20 years. A lot of people might say, oh, well, I'll just go, get a replacement or get a surgical procedure done. Well, great. That still doesn't address the problem. I mean, think about people that get a surgical procedure done to, say, a herniated disc. Then they fuse the spinal vertebrae together. That's crazy, because now there's no movement in the vertebrae, which is limiting movement throughout the entirety of the body. The body is a synergistic tool. Like, it's a synergistic set of elastic tissues that work together. And that's why we talk so much about, optimizing the myofascial system in this program. So anyway, I want to let you weigh in for a second, McCall, because I'm like going off on a tangent here. Cause again, I get really passionate about this stuff. So yeah, please, your thoughts and anything you'd like to add.
I love what you're saying. And I'm happy to kind of rehash and share my own experience too. Number one point I heard you make is, the bodywork industry, this is a big myth that we're busting, because, and this is how I was taught, any generic program or system or do-it-yourself thing, you learn yoga at home, or like you said, P90X, or you do all these CrossFit, you do all these things yourself. None of those are personalized. And so the myth that I bought into was the only way to get personalized care was to go to the chiropractor, to go to the massage therapist, to go to the physical therapist. I've had all of those done, lots of them. Right. And, 18 grand, I think I've calculated minimum, not even considering emergencies or the extra things I purchased or bought or supplements or the pillows I got, like all that stuff, 18 grand minimum in my life. And I still, where that got me was I have to continue to go back every week to every month to every quarter to still be put back together to either maintain results or to undo the damage that I've done, because now I'm out of alignment again, right? And so the myth is that body work is actually individualized and custom. And that's what you're breaking apart, is like, no, it's not. Right. And as I learned in my experience, I've been to hundreds of them because I had very complex issues, from injuries, car accidents, my autoimmune system, attacking certain nerves. So like my body does weird things, and regular chiropractic doesn't work, and regular massage doesn't work, and regular physical therapy didn't work on me. So I spent more money finding the right people that had the right technique or the right sensitivity, or a combination of 5 different people at once, the acupuncture to do one thing, and the myofascial release to do another, and then cupping to do another, and then the chiropractor to adjust the bones. Those of you in the group who can relate to me, you get how much this can be just to function, and if you skip it, you pay for it. So you either pay in function of life, or you have to fork out all that money and time driving and coordinating appointments. So I thought that was the only way to get individualized care. But all that got me, and this is why this is the biggest myth that people buy into, all that got me was the sick care model of having to go back again and again and again, like Ryan's saying with the chiropractor, And I even had massage therapists tell me, well, but why are the bones going out of alignment? Isn't it the muscles? But who was asking them, well, why are the muscles going out of alignment? Isn't it the nervous system? You know what I mean? Like, why? What's the real root cause other than just having to band-aid it every week? And I also then worked for a chiropractor, Ryan, similar to your story. While I was in nutrition school working on my master's in nutrition, I actually worked for a chiropractor who I got a lot of adjustments when I was very sick. At my worst, I was bedridden. All my bones popped out. It was like I literally fell apart. I would sneeze and 5 ribs would pop out. I did not hold my adjustments. And he would have to like readjust my organs because my organs weren't even staying in alignment. Why? Nobody was asking why. And I fell in love with him, so I thought, because he was so holistic. He just opened my mind to environmental pollution and hydration, and how, the nerves affect the digestive system, or even your emotions, or how emotional trauma can cause misalignments in the spine. My mind was just exploding. And because it was holistic, I thought it was a good deal. And he would, he'd put me back together every single week. And so I thought it was working because I knew nothing else was working. And as I began working for him, as an assistant through school, there's one thing that came out of his mouth that really, really had me wake up to the fact that I was not in healthcare. I was still in sick care. He just wasn't pumping out meds, or some of those things. He was pumping out herbs and supplements, and adjustments, right? But it was no different. There was nobody testing the root cause. So we were in a conversation about, well, what's the root cause? Well, can't we test for what it is? Oh, that's too expensive. He just dismissed all that. And he said, the real model here for success, because I was his assistant in the office, the real model here is we're after patient retention. And he's teaching me about the business model and how to put the files away in the filing system, right? And that comes out of his mouth. And I know he is a genuine person, but I never forgot that. I did not work there for much longer because I could not, in my right conscience, buy into a system that depends on patient retention. Because if the patients have to keep coming back, they are not getting better. And I'm sorry, but I've spent enough money coming back every single week to have somebody else put me back together, and then still suffer pain, and then still have limitations. And I can't do that because I might pop my neck out, right? And if my neck pops out, I have dysautonomia, and my blood pressure goes crazy, and my pupils go crazy, and I get heart palpitations, and I can't sleep because I'm on fight or flight all the time because of how it's squeezing my brain stem. Okay, this was my life. So the myth is that body work is actually individualized care. It's not. They go to school and they learn a system, and they approach you from that system. So the system is the same. Everybody goes through the same system. That's why it works for some people and not for others, and nobody's telling you why. The truth that Ryan has just explained is that we are individuals, and each individual has to have an individual program. We have a biomechanics, is what you typically say. We have a way we are designed to function, and we have to actually serve that function. We have to know where we're not functioning and why in order to meet that. And it all comes from within. That's what you're saying, is we have that blueprint inside of our bodies, and all of those, forms of chiropractic, upper cervical chiropractic, or
Yeah.
There's so many forms, right? Or different forms of massage. They all have their one tool that they swear is going to work for everybody. Well, that doesn't make logical sense. So the only way to actually fix your body from the inside out, address those root causes, have that permanent solution, is actually by dealing with your biomechanics and your root causes. So number one, myth, just to recap and share my own experience too, I'm very passionate about this, is that, body workers that you go see do not give you individualized care. That's the biggest myth. Second thing that you said is of why this isn't working, why it's a waste of money, is outsourcing that corrective care, outsourcing it to somebody else to work with your body or try to retrain your nervous system. That doesn't work. And I love how you told me before, we're harnessing the power of the inherent body intelligence, that blueprint. And a couple things I wrote down as you were talking. That's why I feel good on vacations, because I am not in a dysfunctional state. I am moving. I'm sitting at the campfire. I'm hiking. I thought I felt good on vacations for other reasons, like I was on vacation, but I'm actually realizing that when I'm out in nature, there's actually ways that my body is actually able to go back to the way it was designed. And I've been taking that for granted. So I love being able to learn from you, how to do that for myself at home, so that I can be on vacation all the time. I never connected the dots. I always thought it was like stress or, like those things people tell you. But actually, I feel better in my body. That means my physical body is actually doing better.
Yeah.
Another thought is, there's this myth that when you start correcting, like everybody tells you, sit up straight, don't put your head forward, don't look down at your phone, whatever, stretch, all this stuff. To me, that always felt like forcing my body. And it was like, oh, I have to remember every hour to force myself to sit up. But so I just wanted to speak to that for a moment from my experience, Ryan, of what you've taught me is that I'm retraining my nervous system. And what I experience when I actually retrain it is that I just, like, this is my new normal. I don't have to force it. Or I experience relief. I don't experiencing forcing it or having to constantly battle or remind myself, okay, sit up, because that never worked for me. That always kind of caused more pain, more tension in different parts of my body. And it didn't create a new normal for me. So I just wanted to speak to that, harnessing the power, getting back to the blueprint of how you're designed is not forcing posture. Yeah. It's like your posture will be aligned after you do the work of that being your new normal. And it's not something you have to force. I also wrote down what you said about your definition of functional, because it really stood out to me. Functional is symptom free. If you're functioning, you're not dysfunctioning. So you don't require the body work. You don't require the corrective, adjustments or massages or things to hold you back together. You're not fighting against symptoms. If you truly have reached a functional state, there's no band-aids needed. And so I think that's really, really important. And the last thing before I have a quick question for you on point number 2 is that the experts, there's so many people out there that are the experts. They're the experts in upper cervical chiropractic, or there's the experts in the people that think upper cervical chiropractic is a load of hogwash and they have a totally different approach, and there's different physical therapies and different massages, and every one has a lot of passion about it. But this and what you're teaching is literally different than anything out there. It's different than all the other experts because it's working on a way deeper level. It is not one size fits all. It is each person learning exactly what they need to get real lasting results. And you can't, I guess you can't generalize your way through that. You can't one approach your way into those kinds of results. So that's good. Before we talk about fitness, which I learned a lot from what you shared, I wanted to ask, there's a myth that came up in my mind as you were sharing, like, well, it can't be bad to go see the chiropractor. It can't be bad what I'm doing with my fitness, you know, it's better than doing nothing. But actually, if we look a little bit deeper into how people are staying stuck in the perpetual cycles of dysfunction and pain, I wanted to ask you, you know, what are the real damages of outsourcing body work? What are the real impacts of continuing to exercise in a dysfunctional body? Can you speak to the kind of outcomes that people are looking at for the rest of their lives? Like, this is dangerous stuff if you don't get it right. So can you speak to even a few of the things that you've seen, the dangers of continuing with the status quo?
Certainly, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a lot to say about that. I think nobody's going to know your body better than you do, right? Like, even if you go to see, say, a deep tissue massage therapist, you still have to instruct them where to go. And there's, you know, a little lower, a little deeper, you know where those places are. That's why we call this the pain-free blueprint, because we're literally giving you the blueprint to personalize your own program. Because once you understand the concepts of this is how the body functions, this is how we move, these are the tissues that should be tight, these are the tissues that should be loose, these are the postural tissues, the dynamic tissues. Once you understand all that, you just go, you go for a walk, you do a little assessment work, you say, okay, yep, feeling a little restriction here. Then you have the tools to go in there and do it. And then you understand the exercises necessary to restore your own function, your own posture. Going back to, there was a second piece there that you mentioned, and I kind of slipped. Remind me.
Well, just what are the dangers of outsourcing body work? Yeah.
Yeah. So the dangers of continuing to do, follow the status quo, right? And doing the kind of functional fitness is, first of all, if you're getting your body into already this dysfunctional state, right? These poor postural patterns, that's obviously not optimized for function. So the first thing that people need to be doing is doing a lot of deep soft tissue myofascial restrictive work, right? They're sort of opening up those myofascial restrictions, right? Because now they need to free up those tissues. So now their body's more receptive to the input to learn the functional exercises. But people are going in with these poor postural patterns. Their body can't function. For example, a majority of people that I work with can't get their arms up over 180 degrees of flexion, right? Where we have a nice straight line, which is incredibly important for any overhead movement. Not to get too deep into the weeds, but for the health of the lumbar spine and the shoulder. So now you have people going in and taking a CrossFit class and doing literally 100 presses overhead, and they can't even get into an overhead position. So that is the danger, because you're basically taking what might be a very long-term chronic problem and you're accelerating it. Right? You're speeding up the process, because now you're taking the poor posture and you're running it through a bunch of volume that it's not optimized to do. So that, to me, is really the danger of not taking the appropriate action needed to just get your, with our program, it's already gold enough just to like teach people how to release those tissues. But then it's just that cherry on top to show you, here are the type of exercises that you should be doing in order to become a functional human being again, to restore inherent human movement. So the thing is, as human beings, we're bipedal, right? We walk on 2 feet. Or, as opposed to like a quadruped, right? So our movement is very pendulous, in the sense that, as one hand swings forward, the opposite hip, it swings into extension. And then this kind of movement of elastic movement is what creates this pendulous movement for bipedal organisms like ourselves. So, teaching people the concepts of tensegrity, which was a term coined by Buckminster Fuller, who was an innovator, and he created the buckyball. I'm sure you've seen it. It's like a sphere that has all these little points connected, and it's showing you that's a visual representation of tensegrity. It's a combination of integrity and tension. So when we have tension in the right areas in the body, those elastic pieces, the myofascial pieces have the tension areas where they should be. The body has a very elastic, pain-free movement pattern. And that's what we're trying to teach you how to do is, I would even say there are a few stretches that we include in the program, but I would even say too much stretching. I would even say yoga is damaging to people. Honestly, I know that sounds crazy, but what you're doing is you're taking away the tensegrity. You're taking away the elasticity the body should have to create elastic movement, because without elasticity, you're basically creating a lot of tension on the body or tension on the joints, right? Imagine like if everybody could do this, standing on one foot and just hopping up and down. Automatically, you're going to notice something called a stretch reflex, where the foot hits the ground, boom, immediately spring up. That is an idea. That is an example of myofascial tension. The fascia gets to an end range and then creates a reflex that springs you back upward. That's how all our body's tissues should work together. But when I go and I do yoga or I stretch for an hour at a time, I'm actually lengthening all those tissues to the point where it loses elasticity, and therefore you're becoming less functional, more prone to injury. So it's crazy, I know, because I love some of the concepts behind yoga, but the reality is for functional bipedal organisms, it's not good. It's not a good approach. So yeah, I would say those are the dangers.
Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing. And I can relate to that and working closely with a pelvic floor physical therapist after childbirth,
Right.
because everybody talks about doing Kegels for women, right? As part of functional movement or whatever, alignment or healing of those tissues. And she said, the first thing I tell people to do is stop. There's a certain problem that exercise strengthens. And for a lot of other people, like it could be 50-50. You don't know if it's you. For a lot of other people, that's going to make it worse because everything's already too tight down there. So how do you know? You can't just do these general approaches. Very good explanation about yoga, because that's something even I still had a little myth about, oh, but yoga's safe, or I could do yoga safely, right? But what I heard you say, the dangers is you actually can speed up the progress of degeneration or speed up the process of injury, that speed up the process of misalignment by continuing to work out and not having proper alignment too. I'm getting that it's impossible to retrain your nervous system if you either outsource it or you're working out and trying to strengthen while you're in a dysfunctional state. Number 3, injury and more scar tissue, like more problems that you have to spend more time undoing later. And number 4, that you can decrease and take away what is working in the body, like with yoga, and you can increase what's not working and aggravate what's not working in the body if you don't actually know what's going on. And so really the proper alignment first is absolutely critical. Otherwise, you really are going to be doing Band-Aid approaches the rest of your life. And those Band-Aids are the ones that are making you continue to be unwell.
Right. Yeah.
Last thing you shared, the number 3rd reason why, it's so dangerous and it's unworkable, why people have to keep going back and getting body work time after time after time, is that, the fitness industry teaches this big myth that function comes from their tools. You go to the gym to get function. You do CrossFit to get function. But function and fitness are totally different. Yeah. And in order to have proper fitness and enjoy working out, which was always my problem, every time I worked out, it aggravated my problems. So then I just had a sedentary lifestyle, which made me feel better in the short term, because then I wasn't aggravating my problems. But that doesn't make me feel well. That doesn't make me healthy. That doesn't speed up my metabolism. My immune system suffers, and I have chronic allergies, and whatever, like I have digestive issues because I'm not moving. So that's the big myth, is that, function comes from the fitness industry tools. And the truth is that we already have it inside us, and we just need to know what our body is telling us. We just need to know how to retrain it. And the brilliant thing is, like, before you, Ryan, I looked at the fitness industry like, well, I'd have to go to school for 8 years to know that. I don't know how to do it by myself. I even looked up self-adjusting techniques, like how do I adjust my own neck? How do I massage my own whatever? I've been searching for this for a long time before I found you. And it's so cool to actually say, yes, you are in your own body and we can teach you these principles. And then you'll work your chiropractor out of a job because you won't need him, because you'll be well. And that's the beauty of what this is it's very empowering. You have this skill. And if you teach a man to fish, right? If we teach you how to fish, you can feed yourself for the rest of your life. And that, to me, is real healthcare.
Yeah.
So anything you want to wrap up on Anything you want to say before we wrap
No,
up?
that's it. You know, I would even just, so it doesn't sound like I'm a hypocrite, you know, I mean, even with massage therapy, you know, I'm a massage therapist. I make money as a massage therapist and as a health and fitness coach. But you know, I even go out of my way to tell my clients, hey, look, you know, like you've got this chronic problem. I can keep coming working on it, or I can give you the tools and show you how you can manage this yourself, because it's very, to me, it's kind of a moral dilemma. You know, like I could keep seeing them and making good money seeing them, but it's on my conscience the whole time, right? So I've, you know, that's how it kind of started, this whole frustration. And that's why, you know, now I've shifted. You know, I used to just be in the gym working with clients and doing massage, but now I found a way to merge the two and give people in person what you and I are essentially going to be giving people, which is this combination of soft tissue work, and in such a way with corrective exercise to where it's addressing that individual's needs, so that way they can move pain-free, dysfunction-free. And just to say a little bit about chiropractic, I think chiropractic has great application for acute injuries, right? If I get in a car wreck and, you know, something goes out of alignment, like absolutely, you know, you should definitely go get that worked, that, you know, adjustment. But also there should be some soft tissue work, right? Because, you know, that's what happens when in the case of, you know, whiplash, those muscles get really hypertonic. The nervous system gets really like hyperactive in that area. So you have to kind of go in there, do the soft tissue work, the chiropractic work, and then restore that homeostasis, that balance. So that's essentially all I want to say. I just want people to know that, you know, it's, again, this is a blueprint. We're giving you the long-term sustainable tools, so that way you don't ever have to rely again on anyone outside, or outsource your health to somebody else. And just keep in mind, you know, obviously, you know, there's lots of you with individual needs, and we're here to provide service to each and every one of you. Even though we're going to give you the tools you need, if there's ever any questions from people, you know, get involved in the Facebook group, ask questions. And you know, the beauty of this program is to continually update more and more information, right? Like, it's, instead of, you know, a lot of courses, it's, this is the program, boom, done, you know, everything's taken care of. It's like, no, we're going to continue to be engaged. We're going to give you more information. If there's something you feel is lacking, we're going to update that and we're going to make it even better. So that's essentially it. Thank you all so much, and for listening, and thank you, McCall. This has been fun as usual.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, you know, tell us what you're struggling with, and we can craft these videos, you know, to meet your needs. I'm really excited to do, you know, to address TMJ, you know, and some other really common problems that you guys are experiencing, so you can see, not from the sick care model, not from the patient retention model and what they're teaching you, but you can actually see from a true functional model of addressing the root causes. You can actually rediscover what's going on and what to do to solve it. So if you guys are ready to take on being 100% responsible for your body and a lasting recovery, you know, and you're no longer willing to pay for those band-aids every week, month, quarter, schedule a free breakthrough call with me. There's a link that I'll include above the video. It's healingtraumanow.com/apply. Fill out the short application form so that we know what's going on with you, how we're going to serve you on the call. And what we do, it's absolutely free. It's a service to the people in this Facebook group. And we look at what's working and what's not. We look at what you're doing. We look at where your symptoms are coming from and what you need to do to get yourself well, which is really addressing the real cause of the symptoms, right? And looking at saving you that 6 figures on what you will have spent if you're going to keep up going to the chiropractor, the physical therapist, the massage therapist, the acupuncture for the rest of your life for these physical problems. You know, we want to save you from that heartache, and really, you know, actually give you health in for that lifetime, instead of, you know, the band-aids that don't really give you full health. There's a lot of limitations with that. So that's it. Click the link for a breakthrough call. Let us know what you're struggling with, suffering with, and we are happy to support you guys into.
Right. And one last thing I just wanted to say is, you know, I've gotten really interested recently in kind of investments, right? Because in order to accumulate wealth, you look for investments, not expenses, right? If you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you think about 100 grand, that could get you 5 down payments on an income producing property that would turn you into a millionaire. Like, that's so crazy to think about. So when we were talking about 100 grand, I was like, I mean, that's literally money that would make you a millionaire if invested correctly. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because it's kind of mind boggling to think that people spend that kind of money on healthcare.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, because it's like, what is it costing you to not have this solved?
Mm-hmm.
$100,000. Like, what if you woke up, they say a penny earned, a penny saved is a penny earned, right?
Mm-hmm.
All around practical investments. Well, this is very practical. If you could just make or save that 100,000, what could you do with that? And not only that, but I know that when I'm feeling better and I'm in alignment, I am functioning better. I am happier. I am more motivated. I sleep better. I have more energy, more clarity of mind through the day. You know what I mean? My appetite's regulated. I am less stressed. When I have pain, my stress goes through the roof. Tiny problems in life become big deals. And so really looking at, no longer willing to play the sick care game is really a big choice, and it's a life changer. And I love what you said. You could really be taking on becoming a millionaire if you wanted to.
Right.
Or anything, becoming that athlete if you wanted to, or, just being available for your family, because you're not checked out from pain, or you're not constantly on those pain meds that screw up your gut, that give you allergies, that blah, 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 or, you don't enjoy your intimacy.
Right.
You don't have a sex life because you hurt. So that's what this is about. That's to really bring this home to, like, Ryan and I get what it is to suffer. Like I said, at my worst, I was bedridden for a couple of years and nobody knew what was wrong with me. And we tried it all. So that's why we do this, is because we care. It's our heart, it's our passion, it's our purpose. And nothing lights us up more than setting you guys free and seeing it work, and hearing more stories like Ryan's, like, yeah, 2 weeks later, I'm pain-free in my hips. Like, my pain from years just went away. That's what this is about. So happy to serve you guys. Give us feedback. If you've got a question, post it in the comments, and we look forward to talking to you soon.